Hi, it's Stephen here for Bland Designs, and today I'm sort of in the mood to make some background papers. And I'm going to use Tim Holtz tissue, blank tissue, which I'm not sure if you can still buy it or not, but I've got a couple of rolls of it, so I thought I'd use it. And I'm going to use some more various products to create this, and I'm doing this as a Halloween theme because in the back of my mind I'm thinking of doing a little Halloween project using a cheap box from the dollar store that I'm going to do some mixed media on. But I want to create some background tissue that I can tear up and glue onto this box. So what I've got laid out here is underneath this pile of stuff are two strips of this Tim Holtz tissue. And if you're not familiar with this, it comes in a box like this. It's Tim Holtz Ideology tissue wrap, and this is the plain. Doesn't have anything on it, and it comes in a roll of about 15 feet, and it's not a very big roll. As you can see, it's only about 6 inches in width. So I have two strips of it onto my nonstick craft sheet, and I've laid them down and adhered some artist tape onto these just to keep them flat, so that afterwards I can just pull that up. I'm also going to be using a lot of wet mediums on it, so just in case it wants to curl or anything like that, should keep it relatively flat until I'm done. Now I'm going to use a variety of products. As I said, I'm going to use these three colors of Dylusion spray if I can get them out of the bottle. These tend to be extremely messy. You cannot dictate where the spray is going to go. So you see this blue area in the peripheral part of my screen? This is paper towels. I've got my keyboard of my computer, which is up here just out of shot, covered in paper towels as well, because this stuff goes everywhere. On top of that, it will stain your hands. So I have, instead of using gloves for this, which I probably should use, I've got invisible gloves. It's a mixture. It's like hand cream actually that you put on, which helps get ink and things like that off your hands. But as I speak right now, I think I am going to put on a set of gloves as well when I use the sprays, because I got to go out tonight and I don't want my hands all covered in ink. I've picked up some oxide inks as well in these three colors, and this is Spiced Marmalade, Wilted Violet, Fossilized Amber, and I got out some black soot as well. I'm not sure how much of that I'm going to use, but we'll see. I've got some Tim Holtz stencils, and I don't do a lot of Halloween theme kind of projects, but I have his Halloween stencils. I have Twist It, I have pumpkins, Halloween script, crossbones, one that's just called Halloween with words all over it, Shattered, which looks like a spider's web, and this one is bats. Okay, so I don't know if I'll use them all, but I've got them out ready to go. And then I just grabbed some background stamps as well, and these are not specifically Halloween based, but I always like to use a script stamp on things because I think it makes things look a little interesting. And in fact, I don't think this is actually script. This looks like mathematical formulas, but that's okay. This one I found. I haven't used this in a long time. I'm not even sure who makes it. Oh, it says Callback on it, so it must be Natalie Callback's line of stamps, rubber stamps. So it's all distressed, grungy looking. I think that'll be okay. And then I have this one with some basic lines on it. So those are the products I'm going to use to create this background paper. I will probably have to dry between layers. And most of them, well, these inks and the Dylusions are all reactive to water. So since I will probably be applying pieces of this finished paper to my project with something like matte medium, I don't want the colors to run. So I may give these, after I've got all the layers done and dried, I may give them a fixative spray over top of them as well, just to make them water fast, or so they're not water soluble. So that's what I'm going to do. I am not going to talk through this video. I'm actually going to probably speed it up, and we see what we'll get out of all of this. Okay, so I finished that tissue paper, and you saw in the video that I sprayed it with this. This is a low odor clear matte spray by Krylon, and that'll just make my tissue paper waterproof. So when I add matte medium to it, when I stick it down onto my project, I won't have my colors bleed or run all over the place since they are water reactive. Now what I'm thinking of doing is I'm going to do a similar process, but I'm going to do it on deli paper this time. So I have 2 sheets of deli paper that I've stuck down with some artist tape, again, to keep it from curling. And instead of using spray on the background this time, I'm going to use Dylusion paints. I haven't used these in a while, thought I'd get them out. Again, though, the properties of these are that they're water reactive, and I believe when these are dry, they are still water reactive, so I will spray them at the end. However, I'm going to put these on and create maybe a little texture by using a sponge kind of a thing, and then I'm going to go add more layers using the stencils again and some rubber stamps, and I might use a different set of rubber stamps. And as I did in the first part of this video, I'm going to speed this process up and do it without any commentary. Okay, so I finished all my papers and they're dry now, and I cut them down. I cut them in half because I think this will make it a little easier to work with. And I'm going to be tearing them into pieces anyways, so it doesn't really matter. But one thing I want to tell you is that the tissue paper especially did curl a little bit as it was drying. And so to flatten it out, what I did was, well, you could use an iron, but I would strongly suggest that if you use an iron, that it's an iron you have dedicated to just crafts, not your good iron for your clothing, and that you use pieces of parchment paper, sandwich the sheet between parchment paper, and then press it. I use a laminator, a heat laminator for this, and I put it through a traveler, and that worked fine on the tissue paper. However, I did run into one problem with the deli paper, and it may have been because I used more acrylic paint on those pieces. And what happened was, acrylic paint is essentially plastic. It melted a little bit and it stuck to the traveler, so when I tried to get it out of the traveler, I kind of ripped it. But not a big deal, because I'm going to rip these up anyways. But you might want to just be aware of that when you apply heat, depending on the products you've used, they could remelt and stick to whatever you're doing. So again, the reason for using the parchment paper with an iron. Okay, so I've got all these sheets now, and now these I will take and I'm going to use them as backgrounds that I'm going to glue using probably matte medium onto maybe a small box, maybe something else. I don't know yet, but when I have that figured out, I will make a video of how I've used these and other things that I'm doing with a Halloween mixed media project. So that's all from me today. I hope you enjoyed this, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye bye for now.